If you sim race or sim drive, you've heard this before. Why don't you just buy a real car? While a car is more practical in the sense that you can use it to get to work, transport goods and such, the type of cars we're typically referring to are cars intended for racing. While you can technically race any car that rolls, commuter cars and even sports cars are not built to withstand prolonged abuse from racing, believe it or not. It takes a good amount of money to reinforce weak areas, beef up the cooling systems, and even things like wear items and consumables are costly and add up quickly. You know how a set of 4 regular tires are expensive for a car? Well, racing tires aren't cheap. Fuel isn't even cheap. Oil isn't cheap. Windshields are not cheap. Suspension, brakes, etc. That's not even including racing-specific things like seats, belts, roll cages, fire suppression, helmets, protective clothing, decent shoes, travel costs, car registration, entry fees, damage from crashing.
What do you mean it doesn't work anymore? It costs real money to fix this stuff?
I think my point is ever more clear. This video is for the people either trying to decide if sim racing is worth investing your time and money in, or for those people that think sim racing has no practical value past fake driving entertainment. Just because it's a virtual car does not mean you are not driving. You are actually driving, just in a virtual world. Something you can think about that blurs lines is the world of drone pilots. Just because they are not physically in the aircraft does not mean they are not actually piloting that aircraft. A further, more related example would be the average modern car. You are literally driving by wire in the sense that your steering wheel is not mechanically connected to your steering rack. Most newer cars are using a similar technology that sim racing uses: force feedback wheel, sensors communicating position of the throttle, brake, steering wheel, shifting, parking, handbrakes. So technically, you aren't even driving your real car in the real world. Think about the stability sim racing offers. When COVID hit and everything was shut down, including racetracks, what was still standing or sitting? When you break something on your real car and you have to wait 2 weeks for the part to come into your shop, what's waiting for you at home? When you can't afford your car to get repaired and you have to ride your scooter to work every day,
What even goes in here?
what's waiting for you at home with open arms ready to help you decompress? When you can't afford to ever own or even rent your dream car, what allows you to hop in and even crash your dream car with 0 financial penalties? A good 99% of us cannot afford to race with any kind of seriousness, other than maybe a track day here or there, if anything. Even for that 1% that actively races for a profession or a strong hobby, sim racing can help. Even if you disagree 100% that sim racing skills transfer over to real life, you can't argue against it being the very best cost-effective tool to learn a course, especially as a circuit racer. I personally have always driven around the desert in some form of motor vehicle, crashed many times, totaled vehicles, multiple life-altering injuries, surgeries. The physical and financial risk of motorsports is gigantic. I personally feel about 60 to 75% of the overall satisfaction I seek from driving fast sitting in my sim rig in the comfort of my own home. I used to street race illegally and put my life and others in danger to quench that need for speed. Sim racing has helped me so I never feel that urge anymore. I've learned multiple driving techniques that are applicable in real life through video games, heel toe, left foot braking, rev matching. These are all things I do with my real car every day now. I used to supplement my real racing with sim racing to keep sharp, but now I feel no need. Sim racing satisfies me enough to not even dump money into the car I bought and built specifically for racing. Also keep in mind, there is no guarantee motorsports will even exist as it does today 5 to 10 years from now. If you like a certain type of racing, regardless of time period, sim racing helps to preserve that endlessly in a virtual state. It's a very important tool for us to be able to experience older vehicles or racing types that we may not have access to later on in life. I recently came to a crossroads in my mind. I was considering buying a replacement turbo and fixing my dirt racing car for some $5,000 or so. Or buying a nice GPU and motion system. guess what I chose? This doesn't mean I have no desire to race in real life. I do, very much so, but I can't afford it. I'm not good enough for a team to sponsor me, and I'm not financially stable enough to fund it myself. But something I can always count on is SimRacing. It's provided me and others so much joy, so much satisfaction and frustration. It has been one of my best investments in my future and the here and now. Have a good day. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the future in a sim rig.